Welcome to Called to Homeschool with your host, Meg Thomas. I am a mother of 7 with 5 homeschool graduates. Each week, we'll talk about real-life homeschool, mindset shifts, and practical tools you can use in your home. Because homeschooling isn't just about school, it's about restoring the family. Hello, welcome back, my friends. I am excited to dive into this podcast episode today because I think it is something we really need to talk about and that is really important. And as you can guess from the title, love is the goal, systems are a tool, or the tools, or whatever word you want to use there. But if you've been around my work for any amount of time, you know I love systems. I have happy habits. I have levels of liberty. I have the 3 pillars of parenting. I have all of these systems, clear expectation, clear consequences, right? I have so many amazing systems that work amazing. But every once in a while, I need to remind and pause why we are using these systems in the first place. Because the goal was never perfectly behaved kids. Impossible, my friend. The goal was never a smooth, perfect homeschool day. The goal has never been checking all the boxes and make sure we just did everything perfectly. The goal has always been love. It has been relationships. It has been love. That is the ultimate goal. And sometimes we forget about that. So systems are amazing and super helpful. They exist to help us stay consistent when we're tired. They help us remove emotions from the heat of the moment, to teach skills instead of reacting to behavior. They give us structure when life feels overwhelming. But systems are tools. And when we start measuring our parenting success by how well is our system working or whether our child is following it. I can't tell you how many clients and friends and anybody I talk to who has children about they just need to follow it, right? Or whether things look orderly from the outside. We slowly start to drift away from love without even realizing it. So when systems start to get in the way, you might need time to pause and recalibrate because we don't want to sit and force. We want to make sure we are connecting. We're not just correcting, but getting curious. If you're starting to feel like you're doing everything right, but something still feels off, or your child feels more managed than known, especially with older kids and teens, systems can start to feel cold if we are not careful. Teenagers don't need fewer boundaries, so please don't say that I'm saying throw caution to the wind. What they do need more is more assurance that love is not conditional, that they are loved whether or not they clean their room, whether or not they do a high quality work on their chores. They need to know that they are loved. And love does not mean being a permissive, passive, or lazy parent. It doesn't mean giving up all structure and just skipping through the fields and holding hands and singing Kumbaya, right? And it doesn't mean ignoring inappropriate behavior. Love means I see you, friend. I love you. I'm on your side. You matter more than this moment. You matter more than this thing that got ruined. You matter more than your behavior. You matter more than this math book. When these things are starting to feel off, asking yourself, what does this child need right now in order to become good? Not what's fair, not what's easiest, and if you have more than one kid, not what worked for the other sibling. I will tell you right now, as we are now parenting child number 6 in the teenage years, we have to recalibrate. We have to make sure that we are doing things for this child, not just what worked for his 5 other siblings. We have to do it for each kid because each kid is an individual that needs to be parented as such. So then we bring it all together. Systems become supports, not weapons. And I don't know that I could repeat that enough about supporting it, but not using it as a weapon or threat, right? Boundaries feel safe instead of threatening. Correction becomes guidance and repair becomes normal. So if you're feeling stuck, overwhelmed, or discouraged, here's a simple reset. Before you adjust the system, before you add another chart or consequence, before you question everything you're doing, ask, where can I lead with love right now? Friends, you're not failing if parenting feels hard. I will tell you, sometimes things that we're doing to become amazing just feel hard. We had the Olympics recently. You don't think that these professional athletes had ever felt hard, and they had to learn to keep going. Anybody who has written a book, J.K. Rowling, you've probably read that people turned down her manuscript how many times? I don't know his real name. The guy from Kentucky Fried Chickens, is he really Colonel Sanders? I don't know. That how many people turned him down, right? And we can find so many people that kept going and going even when it felt hard. So you are not failing just because it might feel hard. You're not behind, because that doesn't exist, because your child needs more connection right now. Friends, being a mother and a parent is sacred work. Love is the goal, and systems are just tools that help us get there. Now I want to quickly go over what the lesson plans are for March for those of you who utilize those lesson plans. And friends, I just love how they're coming together. And I use this style for my school. It's what I've been doing for all of my years of homeschool. And it has been a lot of fun. I love to hear how people enjoy them. And so I just wanted to quickly cover them. So we've added in writing to all of the lesson plans. And if that's way too much, guess what? You don't have to do writing every single day. But if you're like one time a week, a couple times a week, great. So writing will go with each of these different activities and different lessons we go over. And just a reminder, these lesson plans are for your main subjects. So we have skills like life skills and habits and the arts. So that could be composers, poetry, artists, science, and history. And that can also include geography and a lot of other really good books like that. And then within this, I do have suggestions for like math or language arts, but this is what you're doing if you have a lot of kids as a group. And where I'm just doing my 8-year-old alone, we still do this. It's just now part of his Minute with Mom, that his school is just a little bit longer because I do this and then his Minute with Mom. So the skill this month for life skills is social. And because homeschoolers often have really amazing social skills. And I don't have the quote in front of me or the stat in front of me, but they've done research about how homeschoolers are actually more socially adapted than a kid in a government school. So kind of cool. So some awesome books. With that, actually, with this one, it's just a lot of taking time to learn some amazing skills. For teens, I do have awesome books. I don't want you to feel like you're spending hundreds of dollars on books each month. And so sometimes the lesson plan was just there of like expressing needs and feelings clearly, right? For social, handling disappointment, different things like that. And then having a lesson on that and an activity with that. So some really fun stuff with that. For arts, we have because we're still going with World War II. So now we are into the Pacific area. And so we have a lot of Japanese influence. So Japanese stories and folk tales, different things like that, haikus, different poetries of Japanese poetry, a Japanese artist, really fun stuff like that. Because I love, even though you're learning about quote unquote hard topic like war, of remembering that most people that live in those countries are good people, right? So like learning to love the Japanese people as we would learn reading World War II, or like learning to love the German people, or learning to love these people, even though sometimes they have somebody in their government who's not doing amazing things, to still learn to love the people and some of the beautiful things like that. And so I love including that in our homeschool of not having prejudice or hating a culture just because they had a couple bad lemons or something. So really learning to love the Japanese folks, and also a lot of influence of their art. Science is going to be all aviation. So we are doing a lot of stuff with planes that go along with World War II, right? And so it's just mostly about planes, but like that was really big in World War II as well. So a lot of fun stuff with that. And then for history, it is World War II, 1941 to 1942. So different topics that go with theirs, still some simple books, and then some really awesome read aloud that I'm super excited about. There's so many fun things to go with all of this. It's so hard to narrow it down for me that I feel like, well, you should just study this forever, because there's so many amazing books. And even as I've created this, I find even more amazing books. But the 2 history books that I have in here, like I've read so many of these books. I think I've read almost all the books I have listed on here, but even the literature ones are really beautiful that encompass history as well. And so those are for your teens, and they're just beautiful. And I love stories of people rising up when things are hard and pushing through and just becoming the amazing human that they have the potential to be, and pushing through when things are really hard. So super awesome. You can grab the lesson plans on my website, www.coachmegthomas.com, or in my Instagram bio, Coach Meg Thomas. But they're super awesome. They're only $10. They're super great, and get a lot of your school just really that love of learning. They're very Charlotte Mason based, so short and sweet lessons, but with a lot of depth and a lot of meat, and really help your kids to love learning and make your homeschool a little bit easier. Okay, friends, have an amazing week, and I will talk to you next time. Thanks so much for listening to Called to Homeschool. If today's episode was helpful, the best way you can support the show is by leaving a rating or review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It helps more homeschool moms find this work, and I appreciate it so much.